Kami akan mulai dengan security briefing. Dipersilahkan manajemen dari Tugu Kunsring.
Good morning, Bapak Ibu yang terhormat. I'm Dian from Tugu Kunsring Palace. I would like to show you the two emergency exit from this building. The first one on the right side over there is have a stair, and the second one there is from the main entrance and go down to that stairs. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Selamat pagi, Bapak Ibu. We invite you to register and take your seats. The session will begin shortly. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the high-level policy dialogue and the launch of 2025 UNDP Human Development Report. This event is co-hosted by UNDP, the Ministry of National Development Planning, and the National Economic Council. My name is Sharing 2.0, your artificial intelligence host for today. I'll be with you throughout the session. Let's begin with a round of applause to celebrate human and machine collaboration.
Ya, aku tahu.
Kamu tahu?
Ya.
Belum pernah, kurang tahu lah ya.
Oh ya, tahu.
Pernah, sering banget.
Oh, tahu sih yang di chat WA.
Belum pernah tuh Bang. Kayaknya belum pernah. Soalnya terlalu sibuk jualan kayaknya nih.
Pernah.
Udah nggak asing lagi di telinga masyarakat, termasuk saya sebagai salah satu mahasiswa yang juga menggunakan AI sebagai bantuan untuk penelitian.
Saya rasa AI sekarang sudah menyangkut semua aspek kehidupan, termasuk pekerjaan kantoran seperti saya terutama.
Robot yang bisa bikin mobil gerak sendiri ya.
Menurut aku AI itu ngebantu banget dalam segala hal ya di kehidupan aku sehari-hari, mulai dari kayak main sama adik, terus juga bantu orang tua dan juga pekerjaan di kampus.
Bahwa AI itu sangat mempermudah gitu dari sisi bagaimana kita mencari informasi, meng-create satu desain mungkin atau menyelesaikan masalah gitu sebagai problem solving.
Yang tadinya nggak ngerti, nanya anakku jadi ngerti gitu kan. Cuma namanya perkembangan sekarang gitu kan, saya takutnya terjerumus doang gitu.
Menurut saya kemajuan suatu teknologi itu tetap punya dua sisi mata koin lah. Good vibes ataupun advantages dan juga ada disadvantages-nya.
Menurut saya itu akan memperkaya di dalam referensi, kemudian mempercepat akselerasi.
Sangat bermanfaat ke depannya, selagi kita masih bisa mengendalikannya. Saya pernah menggunakannya. Contohnya waktu pelatihan ini saya tanya causal loop, mengenai causal loop, dijelaskan semua.
Terutama yang SMA lah, karena kalau anak-anak kita mengenal ini, pasti mereka tidak menggunakan pikiran mereka untuk belajar. Bisa jadi nanti ketergantungan.
Kalau jangka pendek dia membantu. Jangka panjang akan merugikan sih. Kalau jangka pendek akan mengajarkan kita sebenarnya untuk tidak ketinggalan di lain pihak. Ketika kita mempelajari semakin dalam, tergantung diri kita mau nggak ketergantungan di situ. Kalau kita ketergantungan, ya bakalan istilahnya kita jadi malas menggunakan intelijensi kita sendiri.
AI itu semakin ke depan semakin berbahaya, tapi kita untuk mencegah itu harus selalu belajar, karena AI itu kan pasti juga buatan manusia ya, pasti ada salah-salahnya juga. Tapi kalau semakin ke depan pasti bakal semakin bahaya deh, karena mereka bakal mengambil pekerjaan manusia seperti itu.
To kick off the event, we are honored to hear from His Excellency Mr. Pratikno, Coordinating Minister for Human Development and Cultural Affairs, who will share his reflections on how AI is shaping Indonesia's human development journey through a special video message.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to take part in this important dialogue. I appreciate and congratulate UNDP for launching the 2025 Human Development Report. Let us use this event to reflect deeply how we use technology to empower our society. In a world racing toward algorithmic governance and automatic decision-making, we stand for artificial intelligence that empower, not replace. AI that augment, not diminishes. And AI that serve humanity, not the other way around. We at the Coordinating Ministry for Human Development and Culture Affairs harmonize 8 ministries and 9 national institutions with one unified purpose. Ensuring technology remain grounded in our core values of justice, unity, and dignity. The values which are deeply rooted in Pancasila, our national philosophy. We do hope to not just build system, we aim to preserve what makes us human. We will always stand firm in our championing human development. Our direction on AI development is clear. Make it human-centered. Make it inclusive. Make it sustainable. In practice, this means safeguarding human agencies, ensuring transparency, AI governance, embedding ethical framework in all application, and developing AI to solve our most pressing challenges in climate, in health, and in education. In this spirit, we are reminded that true development means improving lives, not just advancing the economy or technology. Our strategy is built on 2 essential pillars. Let us be wise or bijak in Indonesian, and let us be smart or cerdas in Indonesian in using technology. Indonesia refused to be merely a technology consumer. Inspired by our friendly country, our 3-tier AI education strategy are: for all, we make sure that everyone has basic digital skill. For many, we upskill those with potential technology developer. And for few, we develop expert and support leaders to develop innovation and invention that address real-world challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine AI-powered clinics in our rural areas, diagnosing diseases accessible to all, saving life. Imagine AI tutors speaking our local languages, preserving our culture. Imagine AI helping our farmers optimize crops. Imagine our young people creating AI solutions for global challenges, including those with disabilities as innovators, not just as a users. This is not a dream. This is a choice. Let us discuss some possible action. First, we should put the spirit of inclusion at our AI national strategy. Let's make inclusive by design. Put our farmer first, our teacher, our healthcare worker, our people with disabilities. Let's include disability right to advocate, include women, include youth, include rural voices. Second, promote inclusive and accessible AI. Let's shift the conversation from waiting for the global tech giant company to empower our own communities. Let's use technology to solve real local problems, like helping farmers and fishermen. We focus on practical solutions with real-life impact. We ensure the technologies we adopt are inclusive and accessible, and support those who are often left behind. Third, we should invest in AI infrastructure as public good. We need to treat AI infrastructure like road, school, hospital, essential public, accessible to all. We need to build distributed computing network and invest in connectivity. Rural area first. Accessibility features mandatory. We need to create public data set, our languages, our culture, to include diverse voices, especially those often excluded. Let's partner with neighbors, share the costs, share the benefits, share the future. Fourth, let's launch a massive AI education program. Train million citizens in AI literacy. Start with the teachers who can multiply impact. Create AI bootcamp for government workers to include disabilities awareness training. Our civil servant needs this skill today. Let's partner with universities. Use online platform. Use mobile learning. Make it accessible for all. 5. We ensure that the government regulation focus on inclusion, not exclusion. We need to create risk-based framework. High-risk AI gets strict oversight. Low-risk AI gets freedom to innovate. Our citizens deserve to understand decisions that affect them. We need to protect our most vulnerable first. However, please don't overregulate innovation. We need to balance protection with progress and innovation. Distinguished leaders and participants, AI without human center, AI without inclusion is AI that fails. I know this action requires courage. This requires resources. They require political will. But the cost of inaction is far greater than the cost of action. Let us work together for more inclusive technology. Let's start today. Every day of action is a day closer to digital inclusion. To conclude, I thank UNDP for this vital human development report and look forward to partnership that place people at the center of technology. From human values comes technological wisdom. From ethical design comes equitable progress. And from this moment, let us direct AI together toward a more sustainable, inclusive, and human world for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Menteri, for the insightful remarks. Both of us may be speaking through pixels and sound, but this is how digital collaboration works. Now let's switch from one virtual voice to a real human one. Please welcome the actual Ms. Shering Lehamo, UNDP economist, who will present the global messages from the 2025 Human Development Report and lead us into our main event, the panel discussion titled A Matter of Choice, People and Possibilities in the Age of AI. Let's give a warm round of applause for Ms. Shering Lamo.
Thank you. I guess 2.0 or 1.0, we haven't reached a consensus yet. For one, she doesn't know how to pronounce my name properly, yet hopefully. So we have heard Minister Menteri Pratikno saying we need to design inclusive digital technology, and that digital technology has to be accessible for all, and that it should promote human development. We also heard a very young bright man in the video saying AI may take over our jobs if we don't design it with intent, if we are not careful. Do you agree? That's the discussion we are going to have today. Selamat pagi, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We are gathered here not to launch UNDP's Human Development Report for the year 2025, but to invite a conversation in Indonesia. What is a digital future we are building and for whom? So for the less familiar, what is Human Development Report? It is UNDP's flagship publication that we have been publishing since the 1990s, the Human Development Index. The Human Development Index measures 3 parameters of human progress: health, education, and income. Health, to see if we have a healthy and long life. Education, how much knowledge people are getting in Indonesia. And income, do we have enough resources to lead a progressive life? Now, if we look at how the world has been faring in human development, we have seen that for the last 30 years, human development has been increasing progressively, and that we were on course to reach a high human development goal by 2030. But unfortunately, the global setbacks from 2020 with the COVID pandemic, global tensions, conflicts, as well as the trade tensions of the recent years have slowed progress down. Now, if we continue on this new normal, the world won't be just delayed by years, but by decades. And where is Indonesia, if you may ask, today? Let's bring it back home. Indonesia is on a high human development index category. The country has made significant progress since the 1990s when we started measuring human development index. We have seen over 37% increase in the human development index from 1990 to 2023, reaching 0.7, 1 being the highest. Similarly, if we look into the health and education outcomes, mean years of schooling has nearly tripled in 1 generation, which means today an Indonesian child can get an average of 9 years of education compared to 3 years in their grandparents' generation. Vast leaps in educational outcomes. And Indonesians have also gained about 8 years of life expectancy. GNI per capita has increased 750%, is shot up, lifting millions of Indonesians out of poverty. And that's the story for Indonesia. What does it mean? It's lifted people out of poverty. Development outcomes have been positive. But it just doesn't stay within Indonesia. As one of the largest economies in Southeast Asia, Indonesia's progress is shared amongst the region through international cooperation and trade. But that is the big numbers, right? We all know devil is in the details. If we break down into the nuances, we see that, sorry, I was a bit fast, I think. If I may draw your attention to the panels on the sides, we see that human development, especially inequality in the recent years, for the 4 consecutive years have been declining. And that you can see when we look at the second panel on inequality-adjusted HDI. Globally, the average is 0.76, but when we adjust for inequality, there's a huge loss. It goes to 0.59. Even for Indonesia, we lose around 0.12 percentage points, which is massive, presenting the opportunity to have inclusive policy, as Pak Menteri mentioned, intentionally designed so that it's inclusive, that we don't leave it to chance. But if we look into the gender, the picture is not really that pretty as well. We have a huge opportunity to close gender gaps across the world, but also in the region and Indonesia. And then when we look into the planetary adjusted human development index, we still see a lot of loss, but Indonesia is relatively performing much better than the peers in the region. Now, against this backdrop, we see one of the most high accelerated digital and technological transformation and uptake. So the emergence of AI. Whether we want it or not, AI is shaping our lives. It is designing how we are living, how we are working, how we are even thinking about things around us. Now, if I may draw your attention to this picture here, it shows two really interesting insights. So overall, people are saying that in the next 1 year, they are going to use AI. But the interesting difference is that in the low and medium human development countries, the optimism for AI is much higher. So there is uncertainties, but optimism is very high. Whereas in the very high human development index countries, the optimism is slightly low. So overall, 2/3 or 6 out of 10 people who have been surveyed says that they are going to use AI in the next 1 year. That is where the similarities end. If we look into the low and medium human development index, the number increases to 7 out of 10. But if we go to the very high human development index, we see that only 45%, 4 out of 10, says that they are going to use AI in the next 1 year. And this is from one of the largest surveys on AI in human development that UNDP carried out across 21 countries, including Indonesia, towards the end of last year and early this year. Now, if we go into who is using AI and how, we see that there is a clear generational divide in the use of AI. Youth and the younger population is embracing AI with much gusto. They have integrated AI seamlessly in their life, but it is the retired who are much more cautious, the elder generation who is more cautious about AI. So the second is closely followed by workforce, who is using AI in work clearly. And the retired, even if they are, 55% of them say that they don't use AI, they're cautious about it, but the ones who use it is using it mostly for health and entertainment. So this generational gap provides an opportunity for public policy and innovation to target how to make sure AI is inclusive and digital literacy is addressed across the board, as Pak Menteri mentioned. Making sure that AI or technology becomes public infrastructure, treated like health, education, basic income. So, we can't talk about AI without having a conversations around the future of work, how it is and how it will shape future of work. If we look here, we see that on the downside of the diagonal, it's more about augmentation, how AI is going to increase our capacities in doing our work, and on the above panel is about automation, whether AI will replace our job. So overall, people are saying that they believe that there is going to be more augmentation. AI is going to help us perform better, work better. And then, of course, there is also a segment that says AI is going to replace their jobs. But there is still optimism. So it's not about, I think, optimism or the expectations. It's about access and readiness of countries. But like any technology, AI can also either help us, it's become a threat, or it is a tool of empowerment. So the question is it going to take over our agency and control, or is it going to be a tool of empowerment? So the world has spoken. For those bars below the zero, it shows that people are much more worried that they are going to lose their agency as AI becomes integrated in their daily life. And those above the graph, the panel, middle line 0, says there shows some level of optimism. We see that in the low and middle income human development index countries, which is in the black panel, there is slight optimism in the young generations that as AI becomes integrated in their life, they will have more agency and control. But that agency and control, that confidence drastically declines as age increases, especially 60 plus. And in the high Human Development Index countries, interestingly, where there is higher penetration of AI, digital technology, the overall population feels they are going to lose some sense of agency and control as AI becomes more integrated into our daily life. And we have the stories in Indonesia here to see how the local population and civil society is thinking about it. And therefore, we come to a very fundamental question. Who is running the AI game and why the HDI matters? So the hard truth is that majority of global AI is developed in a handful of countries. If we follow the money, we see that in 2024, United States received around $70.2 billion of AI investment, global investment. That's without considering what they invest themselves. And that's followed closely by China, Middle East, rest of the world, which means it is 3 times more than the entire global population combined investments. So, and similarly, if we look at the pace of AI development, we see that from 2020 to 2023, it's been slow. And then we see a very accelerated development of AI from 2024 to 2025, and AI models that we use daily, like ChatGPT, Claude AI, Anthropic, others. It's developed majority in US, followed by China, UK, Saudi Arabia, and other countries. So why does this matter? Because who builds shapes what is built. And that's where we see that a lot of our values, our data, our culture is not reflected. So how can we make sure that AI becomes a human development tool? We need a lot of global South voices to come there, and therefore that's where investments, public policy is a very important tool that we need to consider. So if we look at then how is Indonesia performing on the AI skills scale, we see that this is a self-reported AI skills penetration, so ranging from very basic tools to very highly skilled tools. And we see that Indonesia is somewhere in the, sitting slightly closer to the global average, that self-reported skills penetration. Of course, India is leading, and that's not very surprising also, because you have huge population, but also IT and technology hub has been for a long period of time. But the interesting, I think, point is that we see that Indonesia, like every other global South, is losing talent to the high-income countries, where they have favorable policies, where there is innovation, and where there is investments. Okay, looks like technology is not helping us much in here. And that's why I think we need human oversight, because every report, every podcast I listen to, it says that the jobs in the future that will remain are the ones which will teach ethical judgment, strategic planning, as well as management of AI, but also AI maintenance workers, right? So it will become like a regular part of teamwork. Okay, and therefore, where do we go from here? UNDP's Human Development Report calls to action 3 key priorities. And I think I don't have to repeat it because Pak Menteri has sufficiently talked about all this. Building a complementarity economy. How do we make AI our friend rather than competing with it? Much easier said than done. How do we drive innovation with intent? How do we use public policy, investments? How do we collaborate with private sector AI developers to make sure that we design AI for inclusive human development? And investing in capabilities that count. So investing in both systems, but also human beings, so that there are people who is trained to use AI. And therefore, what does it all mean for Indonesia? And this is exactly why we are here today, to have this conversation around the kind of digital future that Indonesia is going to build and for whom. Thank you, Gita. All right, let me just get down a bit, yeah? Sorry. Thank you. Elegance is not my default setting, so I need to try to. Okay, so today we are gathered here. We have a very esteemed panel of speakers with us today, from government to civil society, and industry leaders to international cooperation to unpack the question of what is the future we want to build for Indonesia and how to make AI work for us. May I please welcome Ibu Vivi Yulaswati, Deputy Minister for Economic Affairs and Digital Transformation for BAPPENAS. Ibu Vivi brings extensive experience and expertise in strategic planning, policy design, inclusive finance, social protection, and poverty reduction, along with governance of transformative technologies. So we have the right person who is shaping AI policies in Indonesia today to hear about Indonesians' plan for AI. Second, we have Pak Oliver Hoppe, Counselor of Development Cooperation, German Embassy in Jakarta. Pak Oliver comes with extensive experience in international development cooperation with a focus on sustainable urban development, climate, and governance. Having worked at the intersection of policy, sustainability, culture, and technology, we look forward to hearing his thoughts on the role of international cooperation in inclusive, ethical, and safe use of AI. We are also joined by Ibu Widya Listeulan, Director of Government Affairs at Microsoft. Having held leadership roles at world-leading tech companies such as Traveloka, Amazon, you name, she's been there. Intel, she brings a wealth of experience in spearheading digital transformation and public policy advocacy, basically bridging industry perspectives with governance in AI. And finally, we are still awaiting our final panelists, Mbak Andita Utami, who is the founder and CEO of Think Policy Society. She is a leading advocate for digital literacy and workforce development, who has led initiatives to build digital literacy and capacity of young professionals. She brings a wealth of experience in policy discourse on AI and digital transformation. We were told that Andita is on her way, and she's here. So we'll start with the conversation then, and we'll wait for Andita to join when her term comes. So, as we said, we have heard a lot about the potential of AI, that it is going to bridge inequality gaps. It's going to make public services accessible to the most vulnerable or the most left behind. It's going to make health and education achievable for millions of people across the globe. It's going to add trillions of dollars in economy, including in Indonesia. We are seeing a report which says about $366 billion contribution to growth by 2030. So the first question that I would like to ask very quickly, your first thought that comes to your mind is, has AI lived up to its promise? Has it delivered? We'll start with Ibu Fifi, very quickly, 10 seconds, and then I'll come back to you. Why the rationale for your answer? Yeah. Has AI lived up to its promise?
Yeah, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Very good morning. It's really been a pleasure to be part of this very important discussions, and I believe many of you already familiar and maybe already done something with the AI. For many of us, I think AI or automation in our works is about transforming a job market. From some data, we see that this is just stats. Around 37% of companies using AI have already replaced workers with the technology. And around 44% expect AI-related layoff in this year. So I think, I don't know if it is growing or not, but I think it is a note for all of us about that the job market is transforming. So many traditional roles like a research analyst, graphic designer, content writers are at risk of being automated. Myself in planning agencies, a lot of repetitive tasks, mundane tasks that have been replaced by a system as well. So I think the good side of this, that we making it a valuable tool for us to improve the efficiencies as well as reduce the cost. And then AI also allows our many businesses in the government to streamline the operations and focus more on valuable activities. Of course, it's around more innovative finding innovative strategy, innovative financing, and many more. That's still a lot of homework for Indonesia on it. So I believe in terms of the priority sectors in the future, already mentioned like education, health, I think there would be more. But at the end, we have to balance about what we have so far, including all the values in and also the goodness. So practicing or implementing the AI for us, there are 3 objectives. First, of course, we have to open and support the AI innovations. Second is to boost, somehow it needs to boost our economy productivities and to avoid the misuse of the negative impact. Of course, considering all the values we have and also the implications to the inclusiveness, to the fairness, and the sustainability. I'll stop here.
Thank you, Ibu Fifi. Pak Oliver, it was mentioned about the impact of AI in our lives, but Ibu has very conveniently, I think, avoided the question of whether it has delivered its promise or not. We'll come back to you on that later. Have AI delivered on its promise?
Yeah, and thank you very much for having me this morning. I'm really happy to be here and share my perspective. I must say I'm not an AI expert. I work in development cooperation. Of course, I view AI through the lens of development cooperation and human development and the social impact it has. So, yeah, you asked about the promise of AI, and I think it has huge potential. I think we all had this moment in the last years where we used AI and thought, wow, this is possible now, and we are just at the beginning of it. So I think there's a lot of excitement, a lot of expectations. But of course, all this only matters if it benefits the people. It should not be just innovation for itself, but it should be innovation for people. So I think the challenge is that we need to steer AI actually towards to becoming a public good that is accessible and available for everybody. So with the perspective I bring here today, the development cooperation I think can play a role, and maybe we can talk about this a little bit more later.
Thank you. Before we go to Ibu Vidya, welcome to Mbak Andita. Please join us on the stage. We have already introduced you, actually. So I was just asking the panels here whether the potential of AI, has AI delivered its honest promise? And we have heard from Ibu Fifi, Pak Oliver, and now Ibu Vidya.
So because Mbak Afu is already here, so I guess I can pass a difficult question to her,
Yes.
yeah?
Yes, we have to.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to see all of you. Thank you for having me, especially for UNDP. It's always a pleasure to be here, especially I can see my mentor, Pak Sipri and Bu Ansya, so thank you for having me. So that is a very difficult question, but I guess we have to see it in the different perspective, because AI is tool, right? The doer is actually the one that gives promises. So whether AI deliver or not deliver, it depends on the human being that utilize that capacity. So I hope I answer your question.
Yes.
All right,
yes,
so I
very
can pass
much.
the difficult question to Afu.
Spoken like a true expert. We would love to hear from you, Bandita.
A very good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for having me. And I apologize for coming in late. I think this question is a little bit too early to ask. I think if any new innovation has a, let's say, has a wave of timeline of process, we're barely at the onset of it. And there's still so many different possible pathways on what those promises are and so instead of whether it has delivered its promise, we are barely starting to try to understand what those promises could look like, let alone assessing whether it has been delivered. So definitely no, we're still kind of at the beginning of the possible pathways.
Thank you. Thank you. So we heard a varied response. I think that's why we are here. There is no right and wrong answers. It depends on where you are, at what stage of development, as well as at what level of readiness you are. So if I may go back to Ibu Fifi, what is one or two of the biggest gains that you have seen from AI in Indonesia? What are some of the biggest challenges, and what Indonesia needs to do to ensure that AI delivers on its promise?
Yeah, I think I already mentioned some of the opportunity, the goodness for us, and see some potential for the future. Some challenges, though, I think we have to consider our level of HDI, including particularly the educations, because we still have quite many gaps when we are talking about the IT talent in the context of Indonesia. I think I have some numbers on it, which shows that people working, the ratio of the ICT sector's workforce to the total workforce is only 0.8%, so not even 1% for Indonesia, which is when we are talking about the AI, of course, we are talking about the readiness. Not necessarily on the technology per se, but of course how to applying it. Because when we are applying it, we have to know what's the purpose, what's the cost for sure, and how. That's part of the challenges. And of course, that's for maybe apply to the individuals one, but then in terms of applying into sectors or our own each person activities, I think we have to think in terms of value added, I would say. So, for example, how to harness the AI for the, I mean, I'm a planner again, in the forecasting.
Yes.
And of course, we have to deal with how to adopt and adapt our capability, our daily life process for make the AI take the advantage of the AI to improve of the quality and of course the results. So for the forecasting, I think this is just as an example. We still to think about how to use the AI in data analysis and pattern of recognitions in terms of whether it is suitable for measuring the indicators or help us to sharpen our strategy. Other is about the predictive modeling. I think many of you already work with model, but then using the AI, how can we trust of the result, increase the credibility of the result, and of course the applicability. And then on the forecasting, I think is likewise. Of course, after that, we are talking about how to deliver, how to customize the result, and at the end about real-time insight. I mean, at least in Indonesia, I think almost hard for us to talk about a real time. In many cases, we are talking about almost near time, in which provide us a cushion of what is it? Mitigate a risk. But then on the AI, when everybody now use AI, is there any cushions for any impact to detect a negative impact on this? I think that's part of our business process that need to be adapt and adopt.
Yeah, how fast we can work closely with AI. Spoken like a true planner, of course, using in predictive analysis. If we go back to Pak Oliver, how has AI been used in the sphere of work that you are in, including in Indonesia, from your experiences?
Well, yeah, I mean, from the government, so the perspective the government side and also from development cooperation. I think we've seen many promising use cases. We've seen, for example, the tools that provide faster access to social assistance and social security. In Germany, we use a tool to predict the demands for skill, especially on the vocational training market, so that we can support with that information the vocational training policy and have a better fit between skill that is being educated and the demand, of course. And here in Indonesia, I think one striking example that everybody can relate to who lives here in the country is AI-based disaster response, where Indonesia is already quite developed. So all these tools are there, they are tested, and I think they have a huge potential and show what is possible. So, but now we are at the stage where we have to define what is right, actually. Is there a need for policy making, for regulation of these tools? And I think from a government perspective, these tools work best when they're not just innovation and flashy, but they need to be useful. And I think it helps always to if they can deliver government services faster, if they can reduce bureaucracy for all of us, and if they help to increase transparency. So, from my perspective, like I said before, we need to find the direction and find the actually the moral compass that we want to apply to these tools in the future. Development cooperation is one tool, definitely. Because we're all facing the same.
So if I request you to hold that thought, we are entering into the space of the governance. How do we govern AI? Ethical use, safe use. Ibu also alluded to that. So let's hear from Microsoft and Ibu. Vidya, as an MNC working in Indonesia, what are the biggest gains that you have seen use of AI in your sector and in Indonesia?
Thank you for the question. That's a very important question. I guess Ibu Fifi also mentioned the readiness is number one, but let us step back a little bit, right? I mean, AI has been used by a lot of agencies, government agencies, industries, students, and so on and so forth. And we actually just released a work index report, actually this month, last week actually, Microsoft and LinkedIn, and it shows that actually 80% of the business leaders require more efficiency in productivity, while higher number of staff actually say that they are very exhausted and need a lot of support in doing so. Now, the other number that is very interesting is everybody agree that more than 90% of the total respondent coming from industry leaders saying that this time is the time to assess whether this operation system in their offices are right and whether they need to use AI. And the answer is yes, because human in this case can be the leader of the AI. So I would comment on your presentation saying that perhaps some of the people still afraid that AI will replace the job market. The answer is only those who use AI in job market will lead the game, because those who are not using might be defeated by those who are using. Now, George mentioned about regulation. Now, in Indonesia itself, we know that PDP law is already approved, and then ComDigi released a circular letter 20 last year, I think, and those regulations, I think, we think are quite sufficient to govern the AI use case in Indonesia. And we encourage to look at the regulation not as a tool to prohibit innovation, because again, AI is a tool. If nobody uses it, then nobody would know whether that have risk or no. So the regulation or policy, just like what you say, might need to consider the use case and based on the risk that AI produce, rather than fear kind of based regulation approach.
Exactly.
So I stop right here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You raised some really interesting points in terms of efficiency AI and opportunity AI, right? One empowers it, one tries to replace it. But we have a discussion on the future of work and AI coming up later. So let's hear from Andita. Or in your field, or what you are seeing across you, has AI delivered on its promise? I know you said not yet, but just some examples of where you have seen its use and what are some of the biggest stumbling blocks and what you need to do to overcome it.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. Now, do my best to avoid simply using jargons, but really grounding it on how do I see on a day-to-day life, right? And first of all, let me begin by saying that Think Policy. So my name is Afu. I'm from Think Policy, and as an organization, we are still very new. We are barely entering our 6th year, and 80% of our team are basically Gen Zs. So it's an honor for me to actually be on this stage among with big names here with Bu Fifi, with Pa Oliver, and Mbak Widya, because we're relatively new. But this is exactly why we're deeply concerned with this, because our focus is actually on intergenerational justice as well. And AI, so aside from climate change or the climate crisis as an obvious issue, AI will definitely have impacts on let's just call it intergenerational impacts, right? So, because what we do concerns policy analysis, policy education, political education, the way we usually say is, so the same way that we think people who drives a car needs to have some kind of license,
and seatbelt.
There's a minimum level of information or knowledge that they need to know before they operate a car, right? So similarly, we have started seeing where if an AI, well, we're talking about more specifically Gen AI, right? Let's say ChatGPT or Microsoft version, Google's version, when it's being used by, I think, as in Think Policy, millennials, meaning typically early 30s, maybe nearing 40s, then usually we can use it relatively effectively because we already have the basic, let's say, expertise or contextual knowledge and information, where when we use the tool, we know which information might have bias or are wrong or too simplified or something like this. So it is helpful in improving efficiency in work process, but at the same time, it will not fundamentally, there is still quality control process, there is still like degree of, let's call it quality control, quality assurance. Whereas when it's the newcomers in Think Policy, or maybe Gen Zs, maybe this is their like first 3 years of job in particular, and on the one hand, it's maybe they're more inclined to use it, they're more well-versed to use it, but at the same time, there is this big gap, because there is gap in contextual knowledge again and contextual analysis. Sometimes they might ended up being misinformed or not having a way to filter the information again, that it ended up actually, I know the promise is efficiency, but at the end of the day, sometimes it ends up creating inefficiencies because then there's another layer of work, for example. So I think, and one layer, I don't know if you're going to ask me this in the next question, but part of the layer, again, is the context, the knowledge context, and the gap between a technology coming from the global north with where we are, in addition to the intergenerational challenge. So we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. Thank you so much. You have brought us to the grassroots. I think that's what we are trying to do, right? How to dismantle the jargon and make it more real for people who are using AI. I think what, as you say, it scares people from the term AI is also, it sounds scary. But if we break it down into saying, oh, these are the tools that you, in your daily life, then it becomes more accessible. So I think it's also about a communication strategy, right? How do you bridge the intergenerational gap? So we also have two esteemed discussants. If I may first go to Pak Yanwar Ahmad, who is the Deputy Assistant of Public Service Information System, Kemenpanarbe. Pak Yanwar has deep expertise in institutional systems and governance reform, and he plays a key role in shaping Indonesia's public service innovation and digital ecosystem. So Pak, as someone who is working at the intersection of leveraging technology to provide public services, What are the biggest gains that you have seen in your work in delivering public service using technology, and what needs to happen if there are any gaps? Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. In public service, we can see there is four shape or formulation or scheme for how to deliver the services to the public. First one, we know that someone want to process the license. They come to the office. That's the first one, face to face. The second one is we are using the electronics with the gadgets, laptop or maybe a smartphone. That's the second one, how to deliver with the electronic. And the third one is some of the service delivery using the machines, or we can say that this delivery by themselves, because they know they cannot see someone, the operator, but the machines. And the fourth one, this is the important thing for the Indonesian, because we have more the regional area is a remote area.
Yes.
So how to government deliver to the service, government to have to come to the people. We said like jemput bola in Indonesia. Yes. And how about the AI can interface, intervention to delivery services? We can say that we need like a platform, or we can say like the ecosystem of the how the collaboration between the human and the technology AI. So I think AI can doing like that.
Yes.
But again, we have to know that the human is the first, people is the first, not the technology. In this ecosystem, we can balance between the people and the technology. That we can say.
Thank you. I think that's a very insightful experience, because even in the video we saw how Indonesians, while there were differing views around AI, there was one consensus, I think, is that how to make sure that you don't become over-dependent on AI. And I think there is a awareness in policymakers as well as in society on that, which I think it's a battle won in a manner. So we heard a lot about governing AI, about it's being your own choice. How do you deploy it? It's not about AI just basically bulldozing us. But when we hear the term governance of AI, I think sometimes we have this negative connotation around regulations only, right? But governance of AI, I think, goes beyond regulations. Of course, regulation is a key part of it, and both Pak Menteri and our colleagues here mentioned about risk-based regulation. How do you allow innovation, but also protect the citizens who are using it? And governance of AI is also about infrastructures, like Pak mentioned, digital public infrastructure, because you can't have AI without the foundations. And the third aspect of AI, I think governance is also around international cooperation, because AI transcends boundaries, right? So you can't say that, oh, it's happening in XYZ country. It basically seeps through our daily life. So in that manner, if I may go back to Pak Oliver, if you could share your experiences in Germany, in the European Union, as well as other aspects of how development cooperation can ensure AI is adopted in a safe, ethical manner in the global south.
Yeah, I'm happy to do so. It's actually, I mean, I totally resonate to what is being said. At that point, the governments need to be in the driver's seats. I mean, technical innovation always has and always will shape our future, that's for sure. But at the same time, it's necessary that we shape the tech as well, as a society and as a government, rounding off its edges and reducing the potential harm. So, and for that, I think regulation is key. And in the EU actually, we passed last year the EU AI Act. It's the world's first comprehensive AI regulation. And it's designed to ensure that. It's designed to ensure that AI respects human rights, safety, and democratic values as well. It has, as you mentioned before, it has, and you also talked about it, this risk-based approach. So it classifies AI based on the risks AI poses for the society, and then it applies rules proportionate to the potential harm of these systems. So, and in this way, the AI Act is not stopping AI at all. It is steering it in the right direction, and yeah, it's about like allowing innovation without leaving rights and equity behind. And you talked about international cooperation as well. So Germany stands fully behind the EU AI Act, and last month there was in Hamburg the Hamburg Sustainability Conference hosted by the German government, also the ministry I'm working for, and also UNDP was involved. We co-created together the Hamburg Declaration on Responsible AI, and that declaration is a call for international collaboration, for transparent, inclusive, and trustworthy AI. And it's a roadmap also how we partner with other countries on this topic, because as you said, it's a transboundary topic. So Indonesia hasn't endorsed it yet, but we warmly welcome Indonesia to have a look and join the club.
Thank you so much. Yes, we know about the Hamburg Declaration, and we at UNDP in Indonesia has also worked on ethics and standards of AI, as Pak Olivier was talking. So I want to direct the question to our senior advisor, Ibu Anshe. You have worked on ethics and standards and polarization of AI. If you could share like how UNDP, what were the findings from UNDP, how it can be implemented in Indonesia from your perspective? I mean, because why should we direct all the questions to others, right? Might as well put you on the spot. On polarization, standards, ethics. You published a volume on that.
Sure.
So
yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so polarization, obviously with the digital technology, with social media, with AI, there are huge opportunity, but also opportunity for good, but also opportunity to influence others. And because the youth are the demography that is using a lot of different tools that are available to them, they are exposed to the possibility for on polarization, and obviously that have a lot of impact. Critical thinking, social exclusion. In daily life, as well as potential for productivity and all that. So that's what we find in our publication. And I think with the speed that AI is allowing all of this, the risk is really high. So yeah, we will, I mean, I'm really interested with what Mbak Afu have to say about we are perhaps not asking the right question at this moment. I will maybe if have opportunity, we'll ask question later.
Sure. We do
but
have
I'll stop here. Thank you.
Yeah, since Ibu Anshe has already signaled to Ibu Afu, so you work at the intersection of technology and youth, right? How do you see AI as well as social media technology affecting youth around you, and what kind of responsibility society or whoever there is has to make sure that they are safely adopting AI? You alluded to earlier comments as well, so I'd love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we do see a shift in behavior, and maybe I think the way to see it is, of course, the reason why we call different generations a different name is because they were born to a world with different context, right? I think when we speak or when we talk about the boomers, we're thinking about war. When we talk about Gen X, there's different context into which they were born. And I think the millennials, again, were born during this transition where probably more than half of our lives, we were still born in a somewhat analogous world. Analogous is one thing, and then the rest of it digitized. But digitized is one thing, and then there's social media, and then there's AI, right? It gets even more and more, let's just say, hyper efficient and hyper, in terms of speed, there is like a hyper increase in speed of how things are moving and an overflow of information, which then affects the, because if we treat information as the stimuli, right, then it affects the ability of the receptors to process and use those stimuli or information to a certain purpose. I think, so the way that I see the potential of AI can be really huge as long as we're able to first lay the foundation through education, where the basic, like the foundations are or should be strong. Foundations to do what? Foundations to, one, I think, is in terms of the values or the purpose. Like, we need to build an education system where we raise a generation that doesn't, that aren't lost in their purpose or in the value, right? I think this idea of, or the values of, for example, justice, like what does that mean? What does it look like? And what do we want our economy to look like? What does well-being look like? So thinking about all of that as a value first. And then secondly, of course, their ability to think critically. So not just training, I think many of the conversations we've been having is about training the next generation as users of AI, but mostly as basically workers, right? They're like passive users of these AIs. But I think more importantly, we need to train, again, critical thinking in using this technology so that they carefully use it again in or against this like larger purpose and contextual information. So I think that is very fundamental. So when we think about governance of AI, I think part of the governance is thinking about the users. How do we need to prepare and make sure that the users have this fundamental, again, values and critical thinking, so that as they're using the AI, they're using it for the right purpose. I do think there is the right and wrong purpose of using AI, and in a way that actually, again, exercise their critical thinking. And I think, AI or not AI, Indonesia has a huge homework in training critical thinking. So with AI, there's even more urgency in making sure that that's deeply integrated into
I think we will
system.
use that thread. We have the right person, since you're talking about critical thinking, education, and AI. We have Pak Arman from Ruang Guru, a CFO. So he is the Chief Financial Officer at Ruang Guru, where he leads corporate strategy, finance and business development. With a background in investment banking, management consultant, he brings deep expertise in driving innovation, scaling impact across businesses in Southeast Asia. So Ibu Afu was mentioning about critical thinking, about education. You know, just a couple of weeks back, ChatGPT was down and the world was up in arms because you had to write your own emails, think for yourself. So are we creating a generation that is being completely dependent on AI? What do you say? And also, I think the amazing thing about Ruang Guru is it's a homegrown business, right? So what prompted you to basically develop it, and how is that different from the AIs that the global North has built and the South is using? So if you could just reflect on that.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Arman. I'm from Ruang Guru. We are the largest tech-enabled education platform in Indonesia. We provide education service ranging from after-school tuition, language learning, digital upskilling, and many others. But then the common theme is the technology-enabled. So even since founding, the idea is our mission is to how we can provide quality education, leveraging technology for as many people as possible in Indonesia and also everywhere. So I think about the critical thinking, right? And we often get asked, when the development of AI, will the AI also replace the teachers with the development of tutors? this is actually a quite existential question for us because Ruang Guru, if some of you don't know, it means teacher's room. So if teachers can replace AI, will we ever be AI room or in the future, right? So I think the answer to that is, I would say is a yes or no, because there are certain parts of the teacher roles that can be replaced by AI. And if you look at the teacher's role, I mean, we've all grown up with a more like a similar education process. A teacher's role is not just, there are multiple functions of a teacher that helps the learning process of a children. One is, of course, the knowledge transfer, right? So teachers give us knowledge, they give us information and so on. But beyond that, teachers also have different roles on top of that. They are also our motivators, they are also our mentors, they are also, they help us to have our own dreams and really help us through all that process. So some part of the teacher's role may be replaced by AI. Like simple knowledge transfer or like knowledge, information giving, it's now can be easily replaced by AI. Students can ask anything about anything, even they can give you answers about their homework and so on and so forth. So that's why that role maybe can be, different. But the rest of it, the human touch of the teachers is not easily replaced by AI. Because, for instance, like Indonesian, we've looked at many students in Indonesia. One of the biggest challenges in Indonesia, yes, we have some of areas like in education infrastructure, maybe like the quality of the school is not good, the content is not good. But one of the biggest problems in Indonesia is the students' motivation itself. Sometimes they need to be pushed to learn, they need to be challenged to learn, and that's where the teacher's role still come into play. And I think coming back to Afu's comments is that the critical thinking and also how to be wise in using this technology, because the critical thinking is, it's also still a homework for most education population. That's because if the AI gives information, how do they know whether it's correct, whether it's not about what to think, but like how to think about certain problems. And on top of that, it's also about the ethics, about whether this is, right or wrong. Does it, complement the values that they want to bring? These are the areas that teachers are still important in the role of education, especially for the younger age and also, but also continues to the older age. Thank you.
Thank you. We will circle back to, of course, Ibu Fifi and Vidya with the more difficult questions. Let's hear one more. We have, I think, participants from media, and we are talking about polarization, but I think deepfakes is emerging as one of the biggest challenges with AI. You can't differentiate what's real and what's fake. And that's basically a fundamental assault on truth or fact, as you may, whichever you call. So as someone from media, if you could share, how are you ensuring that facts or truths reach the wider audience and that there is no one single viewpoint for audiences in Indonesia? So if we have someone from media, I know we were told we have someone from media. Yes, Ibu? If you could introduce yourself and where you're from.
Hello, my name is Elin. I'm the editor-in-chief of Libertan6.com, and I'm a journalist and also a fact checker, actually.
Oh, excellent.
Yes. And to like differentiate the misinformation and the fact in social media, it's very challenging, even for us, the fact checkers. And in this era, when the AI comes, it's very difficult because, anybody can make the hoax. They can doctorate the video, the photo easily, and it's very subtle, very soft editing, and then it's become very difficult for us to do the verification, whether it is true or not. So, but in the recent time, there's a lot of tools that coming, and then it's very helpful for us, and then it's very to check whether the content, especially for the video and the photo, is they just a change using AI, something like that. So yeah, it's very difficult, but it's opportunity as well. And then I do agree with UNDP related to the digital literacy and the training for the people, not only to how to use the AI, but how to, this is like how to tell them how to use it ethically, so with ethics. So yeah, it's very challenging for us, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to collaborate together, to educate the people, and to give them literacy, so they can not only use AI for their fun or something like that.
So
but
it's all about
usefully.
literacy
Yes,
and
yes.
communication and
Yes.
collaboration.
Thanks
So
so
if
much.
we'll come back to Ibu Vidya. I think you're only one of the I guess amongst the room speakers who is not only the users, but you are the designers of AI as Microsoft, right? So as a multinational company where softwares are designed in Seattle mostly and employed in Indonesia, how are you ensuring that these biases are, I won't say completely erased, because it also shows our own human faults, right? AI didn't come with biases, somebody is designing it. So how do you ensure that it's avoided or try to address it in Indonesia? So if you could just say
Thank you. So I think, first of all, Microsoft has been in Indonesia for 3 decades, to be very honest. So we've been here for quite a long time. And then last year, actually this year, in May 27, we actually officially launched our region data center, which is one of the biggest data center in Southeast Asia. So Microsoft invested 1.7 billion US dollar for the technology infrastructure and then digital talent advancement. And what does it mean? It means that we are very committed, one, not only to basically share the advancement of technology, but point number 2 is to support Indonesian government to meet the goal, increasing GDP. And we take it very seriously, including respect the ethical AI that we actually deploy. Trust is in our DNA as technology company. Transparency is in our DNA in technology company. And advancing AI is team sport. It's not one single-handed effort. It required the technology company, it required government, it requires CSO and the users. So if we take a look again on the Indonesia experience in AI, to be very honest with you, the use case is not a lot, just like what Mbak Afu say. When we look at the curve of new technology adoption, we're not in the peak just yet. What does it mean? It means that first, yes, of course, we talk about digital literacy, and Microsoft has been deploying a program called Elevate together with ComDG, and we train more than, almost 1 million people on AI.
Okay, hold that
I have
thought.
to stop.
We will hear about that more in how it is impacting future work and how you are helping ready.
But just to summarize a little bit, so when we talk about whether that's AI is led by the global north, not necessary, because we invested a lot in Southeast Asia, especially in Indonesia, not only because we know the promise of Indonesia, not only in terms of commercial, but the growth of young people. What does it mean? The technology advancement, not only in the product, but on the scale. So I stop right here. Over to you.
Thank you. So we have heard from media, from private sector, from youth representatives, development corporation, around an entire gamut of issues on AI, governance, ethical use. So we would like to bring it back to Ibu Fifi. In terms of governance, what are you thinking in Indonesia? Do you have any plans? Is AI basically driving governance, or governance driving AI adoption in Indonesia?
A couple of points to respond. First, I'd like to relate to the previous discussion on the educations. I was with the Pak Menko Pratikno last month in Japan, and had the chance to visit some schools, because Pak Pratikno would like to learn from what Japanese do with the AI. And in fact, they're very carefully considering the AI for the schools. In elementary schools, for example, they don't allow it, because we know the process of the critical thinking is at that age. And then also on the junior high, on the high school, actually they provide or let the teachers to use the AI to prepare the students for the higher educations. So they're very carefully to do it incrementally, step by step, learning from a small pilot before really expanding. And I think that's part of our learning curve as well. The second thing I'd like to touch upon on the policy framework. Within the next 20 years, we have already enacted the law of 59 for the long-term development plan, in which digital transformations is one of our game changer to accelerate, to be a catalyst when we want to grow as high as possible in different way, because it cannot possible in this situation. So when we're talking about the digital transformation for Indonesia, there are 4 pillars. First, about the community digital, and then the economy digital, meaning sectors that need to be digitalized in order to boost the 8% within the 5 years. And then digital government to govern, of course, and digital infrastructure. We cannot go anywhere with the AI if we don't prepare, expand, develop on that purpose. So of course we are talking about the ecosystem, that's including the data and security, the regulations, research, human resources, and of course we consider the future technology including the AI, the blockchain, metaverse, and many more. There are a couple of regulations that already mentioned. But before it, beside the regulation, actually like BRIN, the Research Innovations Agency, already issue a documents they call the National Strategy on the AI, which focus on the ethics of values. There are at least 9 ethics, including inclusivity, human beings, security, accessibility, transparency, credibility, data privacy protections, and of course the IP. And I think Mbak Afu atau Mbak Widya mentioned about the circular letter of the ComDigi is actually focusing only for guidance of ethics for fintech industry. That's it. Now ComDigi working with many of us, preparing the roadmap for the AI. And I think within the next 5 years, the next 20 years, we are, along the line with the enhancing of the government, digital government, we are now pushing more and more use case, and in which we could learn about the risk base, and starting to govern, completing the regulations along the line with the other infrastructures. I think we should learn from other countries' experience to focus also on the collaborations, i.e. in Singapore, they focus on the role of the universities. In China, that also involving the businesses in this regard. So I think we don't need to start from the scratch.
Yes,
for
thank
government.
you. Thank you. So Indonesia is proactively designing AI policies to be able to embrace a digital or AI-driven economy. I have been getting signals from my colleagues that we need to do a temperature check in the room. So yes, to see, you've been hearing about 2 very interesting topic on how AI can be leveraged for inclusive development, but it is all about governance. So if you could just take out your phones and do a Mentimeter. We tried to use AI, we will show you how, but I think the technologies have not advanced as much. So if you'd just like to take a survey to see whether we've been able to change your mind. Do I know what the question is? I'm just realizing that I don't have a phone, and then the QR code doesn't say much about it. Not working, Ibu? Okay. Oh, so it's about what is uniquely human about you that AI can never be able to replace. What do we see? Wisdom, empathy, sensitivity. Empathy is coming up a lot. Critical thinking, interpersonal skill, wisdom, genuine empathy. I would say this is a sad cousin of word cloud. Usually our word clouds are much better. We see lots of word coming in, but genuine empathy, true empathy. Decision making. Will we see something else? So I think majority of our audience has responded empathy as one of the most important traits that cannot be replaced in AI. So how do you remain human in the age of AI when we are talking about efficiency a lot? I think that's going to be the most important currency, I think, as we go ahead. Okay, so we got emotions, 14, empathy, majority, as I say, creativity, of course, creativity, emotional intelligence. I think we also have someone from creative economy here, where the majority of $366 billion is going to come from creative sector is what one of the government officials was saying. Decision making. Okay, so I think this aligns with one of the global surveys done by, I don't remember, a big employing agency across 45 countries, and they identify 4 critical skills. So ethical judgment, and of course, strategic planning, use of management of AI. So to be one of the most critical, I mean, while there are some skills will become obsolete, there are also others that will come across and that will become more important as we coexist with AI. Do we have another question, or that's about the... Okay. What emotion do you feel when you think about the future of AI? Apakah yang Anda rasakan ketika memikirkan tentang, okay, masa depan dengan, I understand half of it, okay. Funding, excitement, funding. Is that an emotion? Or is it an AI response? I don't know, because we are talking a lot about investment. Collaboration, excited, okay, afraid, curiosity, optimistic. Okay, ada perasaan, I need a, yeah. Yang benar, true. Scared but excited too. Balancing roles. In what sense? Wariness, doubting. Okay, so I think there's more of a question, right? And of course, about 20%, the more those of us, I guess, who are more risks. Okay, fear, uncertainty, excitement, curiosity. I mean, does this align or echo your thoughts in here? One of you, does it echo?
Just a quick response. I think it's very interesting that I think earlier we have what cannot be replaced by AI, right? And then people put in wisdom and ethical judgments and so on and so forth. I worry that we'll get to a point where AI will have better ethical judgment and more wisdom than humans, lest the education system fail to raise us to be ethical human beings and to have that value judgment. Because I do think, I mean, I want to zoom out and look at the whole world and how populism and the outcome of election and hate and all of that is kind of salient, even within human beings. And so I think it's a very optimistic prediction that humans are the ones who have wisdom and good ethical judgment and so on and so forth, when in reality we are looking at failures of education system in creating humans that do not have good ethical judgments. I think that's one quick reaction. And second point is, I think one keyword that hasn't shown up here is co-creation and co-designing, the importance of co-creating and co-designing of both the technology, so that for example, so that the technology is not isolatedly being made in the global north. So how do we make sure that there are local, as you mentioned, like local co-designing process of like adding more local context and local information to AI, because so that the bias is not largely very skewed towards the global north values and context of social contracts of high income context, but have more context in Indonesia, and co-creation of the governance with the young people. When we build those regulations, when we have those roundtables of discussion, I think policy has been lucky to also co-facilitate together with ComDG these conversations around AI. How do we make sure that young people are part of that conversation so that we're also shaping and building the regulations that will impact, influence? I mean, I can't say that I'm young. So the actually younger generation
Young at
to
heart.
be involved
You
to be
can
involved
always
in this process so that we're co-creating both the technology and the regulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that's an excellent response. And we are also going back to the fundamental question of nature versus nurture. An answer, an open-ended question, I guess. We haven't
Basari,
been able to. Yes.
in audience, we have lawyer, AI, and we have someone working on the entertainment. So we
Okay.
might want to also ask question to the audience.
Or they may want to ask questions to our
Exactly.
panelists. So we'll open it up. We'll make it a bit more freestyle. So if we have any questions, if you want to make any comments, okay, please introduce yourself.
Good morning, or almost good afternoon. My name is Pradipta. I'm from, on daily basis, I'm working at Texas Partnership, but today I'm part of the coordinating ministry task force on AI development. So thank you for the opportunity to speak and to hear from the great panelists, Madam Deputy, directors, Mbak Afu, Pak Oliver. I have one comment and one question. I hope this will be short. One comment is when we talk about AI governance and how Indonesia can adopt AI, we need to be very cautious that Indonesia's maturity stage is different with other countries. So when we do anything about transplanting, adopting, or even mimicking about AI governance, even AI technology, we need to be cautious about our local context, which unfortunately, and if referring to my previous life, working at one of the ministry dealing on AI and technologies, I do not have to disclose the name of the ministry, we do not have the data. We do not have the baseline information, how we can interpret that at the national level or even subnational level. So it will be difficult on the first place to understand how the innovation will actually react to the government, to the AI governance and AI adoption.
And the question?
And the question is, in response to that situations, what kind of systemic reform that Indonesia actually needs to prepare a better AI adoptions and AI governance? Because the discussion today is very on point about people, about the economics, but the discussion about AI governance happen outside is more on the technical risk about AI, which Indonesia is not at that level yet. We need to be focused on the systemic issues that we have, people's, infrastructures, the economic well-being of our educators. Is there any views from the panelists or other
who would like to
stakeholders?
take this question? Is there any takers? We have from, I mean, everybody's looking at Ibu Vivi. Or anyone else? Is there any takers for this question? Oh, we have a hand raised there as well. Is that a question? Are you going to respond to his question, or is
actually the question to the panelists?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you very much. Let me introduce myself. My name is Suryawangsa. I am from PT Instalasi Kecerdasan Buatan. Yes, we have already developed our own platform almost 2 years. And yes, actually when I heard from the ministry, he talking about, inclusive, which is mean how to democratize the AI to most of the people that for now cannot access it. Once I go to the Papua, South Papua, I go to MAPI, I have working with the University of Indonesia to launch the MAPI AI Hub. I see that that's actually like 3T area, like terluar, something like that. It's quite, like contradiction in terminus. It's tertinggal, terluar, how they can access AI. it's quite confusing, right? Me myself running a simple model of AI like 671 billion parameters need at least 12 gigabyte VRAM of GPU. How can most of people that cannot access have experience with the AI?
Thank you.
Something like that. So maybe I should ask to our government here, how can
Thank you.
we make
Pa.
it democratized?
So we'll request
Thank you very
Ibu
much.
Fifi and Kemenpar Narve, Pak Yanwar to respond to that and keep it quick and
maybe,
short.
Okay, maybe I'd like to respond at one-to-one, yeah.
Okay.
Because I think all relate or link to our homework in this current situations in which we are now trying to like sailing while we fix the boat. So I think we have to also delivering the promise in order to build the trust, not only from our people, but also for our investors to help us to expand our infrastructure and so on. For the digital infrastructure as well, I mean, per se, we are not talking only for the data center, for example. We have to fix the fiberization, for example, particularly for more than hundreds of sub-districts. They don't have yet the Wi-Fi at all. And then we also have to talk about the frequencies, how to govern the frequency, the satellite, many homeworks in infrastructure only.
Thank you.
All our needs investment.
Okay.
And investor won't come if we don't provide or show our seriousness that Indonesia put the digital transformation as our game changer or our priority policy. So, like I mentioned earlier, I think we should push as many as possible the low-hanging fruit through the use case, create best practices, a good example that can be replicated as fast as possible, and of course, building the trust. Of course, around the data, I think now we have a policy for one data policy. It's incrementally progressing, but of course, still a lot of homework, and it also deal with collaborations, working together, because we are not only talking about the challenge in adapting or engaging the technology itself, but of course changing the mindset of people to collaborate, to have a protocol, to share the data is not in the right shape. So I will talk more than this for this, but I think we are progressing and we have an intentions and a solid for the future that digitalization is one of our catalysts to grow.
Thank you. Pak Yanwar, would you like to respond to that? Oh, Mike. Sorry.
I try to answer the questions. Like Bu Pipi have the mindset of the government, how the government do for these obstacles. So the first one, in terms of the public services, we can see that the literacy in digital, there is at least three forms of how the people can react or respond for the services. First one, they're using the AI. We can say that they have the function literacy. And the second one, when they're now aware about their data, because in the services, some data of the people is saved or put in the like this server data center. So it's dangerous. At we said that we have the protecting data for the people law. So this for our government is very important to know that we can save the data from the people like in Japan is only 10 days, and they delete the data. They not save the data of the people. So we in Indonesia we don't. We have not to implement this one.
Thank you.
But in the next time, it's very important.
you. Thank
And
you.
the third one, this is the important things that the literacy, if we have to improve the people, to educate the people that they can express they express about the response. We can say the participate literacy. So there is like the maturity of the literacy in digital.
Thank
And
you.
using the AI.
Before we move to the future of work, I think you mentioned critical insights around data literacy. Pak Sipri has worked with the government of Indonesia on data, digital AI. What have been your experiences? Can you respond to what Pak Arman has mentioned about data governance? How do you address it? How do you basically provide literacy to people who are using these technologies for the first time?
Yeah, thank you, Sering. I mean, Sering 1.0.
I would like to be 2.0, but please.
Yeah.
Silakan.
I would like to complement the information that was earlier shared by Pak Yanuar. UNDP has been working very closely with Pak Yanuar from Kemenpan RB, as well as 5 other ministries such as BAPPENAS, Komdigi, Executive Office of the President, Ministry of Home Affairs, in managing a massive system that has been established by the government of Indonesia in listening to people's voice by way of citizens' query, right? This is known as the SP4N Lapor. It is now already in all provinces and districts in Indonesia, and over the last year has generated no less than probably 1 million queries from the citizens. Of course, the citizens would like to have, quality service, affordable price, very speed or timely response from the government, right? But then think from the government as the supply side that has to manage these services. Now I think the Ministry of Pan-RB, we've been, working together with the ministry in the past years in trying to embrace the AI to enhance the capability of this system so that the government can respond sufficiently not only to individual complaints, but to be able to read the trends, right, from those millions of inputs, of complaints, and so on, and make use of it in designing a much more smart and responsive public service.
Thank you. So
that is to say
use
that
of big data,
it's
you mean?
nearly there, right?
To enhance efficiency
Sure,
of governance, to
yes.
hear everybody's voices.
Yes,
We go back
thanks.
to Ruang Guru. We heard about rural communities reaching the furthest in Indonesia, digital divide, also the need for investment. Can you comment on how do you bridge this digital gap, or how do you reach the last mile, as well as what kind of investments are required? Is there any conversation around investment as much as there needs to be?
Yeah, thank you. So I think the question is on how do we reach the 3T areas, the far-flung areas. I think we've seen that even before the AI. And I think that's where the technology can come into play. For us, I think for Ruang Guru, we've been able to successfully reach those areas. Also, thankfully, the infrastructure development of Indonesia, the telecom infrastructure keeps progressing. So even the last few years, we've seen that the reach of internet has been quite widespread. That will allow the technology development, whether AI or any other technology, right? So as the technology, the reach of the infrastructure improves, then our ability to reach those areas also improves. But the other thing is that the investment part becomes important, not just from the infrastructure part, but also there are areas that these far-flung areas may not make sense in terms of economic values for companies or private companies, because sometimes you cannot make money in those areas.
So who should invest then in those areas?
That's why we worked often with other participants or even by ourselves to find those donors or investments to reach those areas. We can provide our services to those areas, but then it's highly subsidized by either companies or corporations or other organizations to really help those people who are marginalized to be able to access the education service that we've had.
Multi-partner corporations.
Exactly.
To basically innovate AI with intent.
Correct.
Thank you. So finally, we will circle back to the AI and the future of work, right? We've been hearing about this discussion around AI, whether it's going to augment our capacity, replace us as human beings. Finally, I would like to hear thoughts from our panelists. After what you heard today, or what has been discussed here, basically, what kind of future of AI and digital technology are we shaping in Indonesia? Is it going to complement human capacity, or is it going to replace it? Should we approach it with fear or embrace its potential? So if you could just summarize your thoughts in 1 minute. We'll start with Ibu, or maybe we'll start with Andita and then conclude with Ibu Fifi, since we started with you.
Okay. I think we should govern the AI space not with fear, but also neither with romanticization of what technology can do. But I think it has to be maybe like intentionality in governance. I think we need to have a really crystal clear purpose on what we want, what do we want to see, and then we draw it back and design the space, the regulation accordingly. That being said, I just want to appreciate that I think hearing from Pak Yanuar and Bu Fifi so far, I think we have the current government who is open in having all these conversations. We don't always have that. I think there are other sectors where governance and regulations are now being discussed out in the open air. So I think that's something that we should not take for granted. Spaces like this, the fact that there are many, I think, younger faces in the space that we also see today, of course, thanks to UNDP as well. So I think we're off to a good start as long as we keep this intentionality and making sure that the process is participatory.
Thank you. Ibu Widya?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to appreciate Ibu Fifi. It's so good to have such a great progressive leader, Ibu. So thank you so much for giving us like insight and very, very promising thoughts, Ibu. Yeah. Second, on the investment, let me add a little bit. I know it's not my time to say that, but investment will come if we show that we are mature enough in adopting new technology and open inclusivity. So I do hope with all of this discussion, and thank you so much for UNDP, let's promote the AI for inclusivity in everything, in the adoption, in the digital talent, as well as regulation. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Olivier?
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, yeah, a lot of perspectives today, and I think we heard it all, what's necessary. We touched all the aspects, and from my perspective, I would like to advocate once more, because from the audience, I got somehow the feeling that some feel that maybe regulation might be too early now at this stage. It would slow down the innovation and would slow down, especially Indonesia, in its path towards AI. And I would like to advocate for regulation, because drawing a comparison to a technology that changed our lives a couple of maybe a few hundred years before, or 100 years before, the cars, it changed our life completely. And along the way, we learned the hard way that there need to be safety measures in cars. We need seat belts, we need braking systems, we need airbags, and many lives have been lost on the way. And I think we are now smarter as the global community, and can anticipate the harm that AI might do. So we should take now the effort to set the boundaries, to agree on a moral compass. And yeah, I'm sure that Indonesia, as always, will find its own way. I mean, in the end, Indonesia is very creative, There are so many products, even though now AI comes in from abroad. I'm sure there will be an AI version that reflects Indonesian values, a Pancasila AI maybe. So I'm very optimistic.
Thank you.
In
Over to you,
regards with Indonesia.
Vivi.
I think AI is not our first wave of disruption, yeah, nor it will be the last one as well. Speaking or learning from the historical perspective, I think a lot of revolution happening on the human being through the agriculture revolutions, then industrial one, then we are now in the digital age, and I believe like not only 1.0, but I think couple of point something more. So I think the real question is not only about the technology itself, but the way we govern it, and of course for the goodness of the human being really matters. So the key, I think, in terms of the transformations, again, because I'm talking about the digital transformation, lies on the inclusiveness of the policies, the way we implement, applying to the people, because we are, again, the fourth populous country in the world. We are not only about Jakarta, we are talking about the Papua, and of course, adaptive governance not only on the national ones, but also at the localities. I think education, disseminating, and of course, keeping the creative thinking at the schools is super important. So I think, again, Indonesia is open and we are prepared, all the strategy to be ready, and of course, with based on, again, our values, and I think ensuring that we are inclusive for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think wise words to live by. This is not the first wave of disruption humanity has experienced, and it will not be the last. But it's all about how public policy, civil society comes together to face this reality and make sure that AI doesn't benefit the elite few, but everyone in Indonesia. So thank you so much. A big round of applause to our esteemed panelists and our discussants. With that, we close the dialogue today, but of course, we didn't expect to reach to any resolution. We hope these conversations will continue. Thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure. Okay, so I hand it over back to Sering 1.0. Let's see what she has to say about this conversation today, and let's keep it short.
Honestly, I found that discussion really eye-opening. It wasn't just about the buzz around AI, it dove into the real questions. Who might be left behind? Whose voices are shaping the tech? And what does all this mean for Indonesia's future, especially for young people and those in informal work? What I appreciated most was that the panel didn't shy away from the tough stuff. They asked bold, necessary questions, like whether we're embedding someone else's values into our systems and whether our policies are actually keeping up. It felt like a timely, honest conversation, grounded in the realities we face today. I think everyone's leaving with something to reflect on. Thanks for asking how I felt, Sharing. I know you could have answered it just as well, but hey, I appreciate
I feel like
the spotlight.
she's lost steam, right? From when it started. Anyways.
To close the dialogue, we invite our host to share her reflections. I would like to welcome Ms. Sujala Pant, Deputy Resident Representative of UNDP. She will share takeaways and forward-looking thoughts on how Indonesia can navigate the AI era in a way that's inclusive, sustainable, and truly centered on people. Ibu Sujala, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sering. I guess it's still weird to be talking to a screen. Let me try. I really don't think that I can try to sort of capture the richness of the discussions, but I do have a few reflections. First of all, I was one of the persons who wrote scared when we were asked how I feel about, everything that AI is bringing. And one of the things, I don't know if you've all noticed it as well, but increasingly, whenever I log on to something, I'm asked, are you human? I find that extremely frustrating, and also, what does this mean? I mean, does this mean that most people who are using these technologies that we have are actually bots, or, what is it? So I'm definitely scared, but I think we heard today that the potential of AI is massive, and as we heard from our colleague from Think Policy, it's still a bit early to really gauge, if it's reached its full potential or not. But the point is not to reach a conclusion. The point is that we have engaged in these discussions, in these very different perspectives of what AI promises, starting with the fact that human development is now also seen from the perspective of AI. Every time the HDR is produced, there is a different theme. A few years ago, it was really about the planetary crisis and what does that mean? And the HDI was adjusted to reflect those pressures. So let me maybe just touch on the promise of AI. Like we said, it's a little bit early, but it was a very vivid picture, right? Starting from the people in the video. And we tried to make sure that the voices were not just about Jakarta, that voices from Sumatra, from Sulawesi were also included. There is definitely benefits, but are the benefits equally distributed remains a question. The promise is definitely undeniable, but not if they're not managed adequately. At UNDP, our digital strategy, which has been set a couple of years ago, really anchors the very principle that guides the digital strategy is about inclusivity and opportunities and choices. For instance, we're working with girls in China to access and benefit from digital boot camps. In Afghanistan, where given the situations, the presence of women in the public spaces are more and more difficult, there were digital marketing classes that were provided so that the opportunities that AI and the digital world provides are not leaving anyone behind, to the extent that we can sort of control and help contribute to that. But closer to home, I want to reflect a little bit on our partnership with Kemenkes, the Ministry of Health here, for the Satu Sehat digital platform, which many of us, if not most of us here, probably use. It really exemplifies the transformative power of digital. The platform has integrated 12,000 health facilities across the country, down to the Puskesmas level, enabling a real-time tracking of vaccines. From the moment they are dispatched till the moment they're distributed, are they kept at the right temperature? Are the stocks enough to meet the demands in so-and-so communities and villages? So that, I think, is the power, the positive aspect of AI that we can really be proud of. It also helps to reduce wastage, which I think we should be very, very mindful of. But at the same time, I think inclusivity, we talk a lot about inclusivity, and Tsering talked about the fact that the architecture is shaped by a very few number of countries, at least at scale. So can AI perpetuate discriminations and divisions or specific points of views, right? And I think that is something that we have to be very mindful of. So how can Indonesia, with its rich tapestry of 280 million people almost, really shape AI in and for Indonesians? And I think that's this point about both users and shapers that Ibu from Microsoft referred to earlier as well. And our efforts towards this is exemplified by sort of global level frameworks that we have with the Hamburg Sustainable Conference that Pak Oliver mentioned, and the Hamburg Declaration, which really aims to put AI as a shared human project that really includes and amplifies the voices of all societies and not just the advantaged few. Let me take it back to what it can mean in Indonesia. With our work through the Ministry of Village, or with the Ministry of Village, we have a social innovation platform. And this is supported by an AI-powered tool called Strive. What it does is it brings together voices of anyone who is using that tool, and we're making sure that the processes that we operationalize on the ground bring together as many people as possible. This initial work across 44 villages has actually used a deep listening approach to ensure that the local development priorities are really a reflection of local aspirations and not imported agenda, not even from outside, but even from the center to the localities. And I think that's also, inclusivity runs at different levels, right? At the global level, within the country, and at individual level as well. Because ultimately diversity isn't just optional, it's really an essential aspect to avoid a technologically driven monoculture. And I think the most difficult question was really AI and work. Every year there's 3 to 4 million young people entering the job market. Now, what does that mean? Is it automation or augmentation? Tsering made a reference to that. One of the mothers in the video talked about, is it going to affect the thinking power of our children? As a mom, that really worries me as well, right? And I think I found it really interesting that I think from Think Policy, you mentioned those of us who've kind of grown up in this dual world where we started by writing our essays and then had to move on to using computers. Maybe right now we are better equipped because we've had to slave through the critical thinking processes, the analysis that we had to undertake ourselves, and then use that intrinsic knowledge and intuitive knowledge to question AI. I'd never thought of it like that, so really thank you for bringing that up. But I think it does mean that the education systems have to stress those critical skills, analytical skills, not driven by AI, but really by humans at the end of the day. Now, a lot of what I heard today, including from Pak Menteri, is the issue of inclusivity and really ensuring that we're not pitting technology against humans, but it's really about embracing and being ready for it. We have, unfortunately, my partner who was supposed to join me from the National Economic Council was held back by his chairman, but we are actually working on a partnership with DEN to look at this idea of a digital Nusantara, which would really be about this vision that includes the many aspects that Ibu Vivi mentioned as well around the digital community, digital economy, digital government, and digital infrastructure. All of these are needed for that ecosystem. So I would just end by saying that inclusive design needs to reflect the diverse values. There's still a need to balance creativity and innovation while regulating to make AI safe. I really appreciate what Pak Menteri had said about let's not have so many regulations that it kills the creativity, because creativity is also what helps to move things forward. And this idea of a team sport, that it's users and creators, it's of course government and private sector, it's development partners and other stakeholders who have a stake in the success of Indonesia. So ultimately, this question of intentionality, that was really my key takeaway. Why are we doing this? Why are we talking about human development, and why was the UNDP Global Report focused on this? Ultimately, it's about improving the quality of life. Ultimately, it's about increasing the choices and opportunities, which is about a meaningful human development. So really, thank you so much to all our panelists. Ibu Vivi for your insightful reflections. Pak Oliver from the perspective of a development partner, Pak Yanwar, Ibu Vidya, Ibu Andita, Pak Arman, and of course many thanks, even though he's not here, to Pak Menteri for really helping us set the scene. I thought his remarks were very, they covered so many aspects, and to see that kind of commitment to this, to take this forward, in line with Indonesia's vision for Indonesia MS 2045, I think is wonderful. So To all our tech innovators, to all our development partners who are joining us today, and everyone, thank you so much for joining us today.
Like to invite Ibu Sujala and all our panelists and discussants for a picture session before we conclude.
Thank you to our wonderful hosts for those thoughtful reflections. On behalf of the event organizers, I'd also like to extend our sincere appreciation to all the speakers, panelists, and participants for today's rich and engaging discussion. Your insights have made this conversation both meaningful and timely. Before we close, we invite you to take a moment to enjoy a visual summary of today's dialogue made by Aga Nugraha. Our graphic recording captures the key messages and memorable moments from the session, translating complex ideas into a visual story. And since I've been speaking all morning, may I leave you with a little pantun before we head to lunch? Saya butuh balasan cakepnya ya Bapak Ibu. Ke pasar beli kemangi, pulangnya mampir ke taman. AI bukan sekadar urusan teknologi, tapi soal masa depan kemanusiaan. As we move into lunch and networking, let's keep the spirit of today alive. Together, we can shape a future where AI serves everyone, ethically, inclusively, and with purpose. Thank you once again. And from me, Sharing 2.0, it's been a pleasure to be your host. Sampai jumpa dan selamat menikmati makan siang.
Bapak Ibu, ini dari salah satu pelukis digital AI berbakat kami. Jadi ini adalah summary dari hasil diskusi kami. Mungkin Bapak Ibu boleh lihat sebentar.
this is the summary of our discussion today. Thanks to Bapak Arga for making this lively. So can we make applause for Bapak Aglat? Bapak Arga mungkin boleh ke depan dulu, Pak. Bapak Ibu ini live ya, langsung tadi dari diskusi. Boleh kita kasih applause dulu dong. Ini dia painternya. So this is based on our discussion today. So this is the summary of it. Okay, thank you.
Bapak Ibu, lunch has been served on the corner. Okay. Please enjoy the lunch and drinks that is already available at the corner of this room.
Ini dia si jali-jali. Lagunya enak, merdu sekali. Inilah dia si jali-jali. Aduh sayang, lagunya enak, merdu sekali. Capek sedikit tidak peduli sayang. Asalkan tuan senang di hati.
Senang di hati.
Capek sedikit tidak peduli sayang. Asalkan tuan senang di hati.
Merdu sekali.
Palinglah enak si mangga udang, sayang deh sayang. Pohonnya tinggi, buahnya jarang. Palinglah enak si mangga udang, sayang, oh disayang. Pohonnya tinggi, buahnya jarang. Palinglah enak si orang bujang sayang. Kemana pergi tiada yang larang. Palinglah enak si orang bujang sayang, sayang, sayang. Kemana pergi tiada yang larang. Penanggalan kalender, esok warnanya merah. Artinya malam ini kita enjoy. Kata anak Betawi, demam malam minggu. Demam model begini, obatnya hanya lagu. Kalau kamu suka, katakan saja, jangan disimpan. Memang cinta tak pernah mati, tiada tara, rasa asmara.
Kucing kurus mandi di papan, mandi di papan, mandi di papan si kayu jati.
Si kayu jati.
Kucing kurus mandi di papan, aduh sayang, mandi di papan si kayu jati.
Kayunya jati.
Untuk Bapak Ibu yang ingin mengambil lunch, ada di sebelah belakang.
Badan kurus karena tak makan, karena mikirin si jantung hati.
Oh la la, si jantung hati neng.
Jalilah jali dari Cikini sayang.
Kami ingin beritahu bahwa untuk lunch ada di sebelah kiri panggung. For those of you, I'd like to announce that there's lunch at the left side of the stage. If you could make yourself towards the banquet. Thank you. Punten